After officially being eliminated from AL West contention last night, the Mariners beat up on the Astros hangover lineup this afternoon to stave off complete elimination from the playoffs for at least one more day. Our takeaways from the game and more coming up here on the Locked On Mariners postgame show. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Wednesday, September 25th, 2024. This is Ty Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners postgame show, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And barring a miracle of all miracles, this will be the last postgame show of the season for us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. Mariners win 8-1 today against an Astros team that very clearly had a lot of fun celebrating its AL West title last night. We'll talk about Julio reaching another milestone today, how George Kirby looked in his last start of the season, and quickly give you an update on Seattle's playoff odds for those of you that, believe in miracles. But before we do that, shout out to our title sponsor today, Booking.com. Booking.yeah, the right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball, and get the Booking.com app today. And if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, check out our Patreon. The link is in the description. You can sign up for a free 7-day trial. So, Colby, let's start here with Julio, who goes 1 for 5 today, had 3 hard hit balls. But the one hit that he had ends up putting him in rare company. He goes 20-20 for yet another season. That is 20 home runs, 20 steals. And he is the second player in MLB history to reach that mark in each of his first 3 seasons in the bigs, joining Bobby Witt Jr., who just recently did that as well. And it came off Hector Neris, which is very interesting because I believe we all remember the last time these two faced off. Neris got the better of Julio, striking him out in Seattle, and then walked him down in a very bizarre looking situation. And according to Eugenio Suarez, used a homophobic slur when chirping at Julio, and that caused the benches to clear. Julio was very upset. Gino was very upset. Everyone was very upset about it. Neris started the year on the Cubs, so this was the first opportunity Julio has had to see Neris since that happened. And Julio takes him yard, which was pretty damn cool to make it 8-1 Mariners. Which of course was the final score in this one. So another 2020 season for Julio, and a year where for a good chunk of it, straight up, there's no way around it, he was just bad, objectively speaking, right? Not for his standards, just bad. And yet here we are, where he's going to be a 4-1 player. He's going to have a 120-ish WRC plus when things are all said and done on Sunday. And I mean, this just shows, because this has to be the floor, right? Things just went awful for him. He was bad. He suffered a significant injury that he had to play through. So this shows just how good this player is and can be, right?
Yeah. There have been a lot of people desperate to write Julio off and as, just kind of a overhyped, not a superstar type of player, that type of thing, because he hasn't had the Gunnar Henderson or Bobby Witt Jr. breakout season where he puts it all together for an entire year type of run yet. We've seen glimpses of that guy, last August, obviously, and pretty much the last 5 months, for the last 5 months in his rookie year, he was a great player. And so people, quick to point out that Julio hasn't had like an 8-win season like Gunnar Henderson or whatever. And it's like, okay, sure, he's 23 years old and he's got a couple of 6-win seasons and now a 4-win season under his belt. And so, this is just a good reminder that like those types of seasons that you want and you think that Julio has to have because he's making $200 million, which no, that's not a thing, but it's there. Like he can absolutely do that. It is within his skill set. This is an immensely talented player. So yeah, it's just a good reminder that, like this is in here, like this is definitely a possibility. And in this case in particular, this isn't something that's been, like just, oh, he had a really good August and that just raised his entire numbers. He's been really good since July, and he's continued that through, the end of this year through September. And
Right.
that includes a 3-week stretch where he was on the IL. And then about a week after that, where it took him a little bit to get his timing back. So, Julio since July 1 has been one of the best hitters in baseball, and he's doing it with power. Whereas before July 1, it was, you know, opposite field singles were kind of the best you could hope for Julio. And so 2020 is there. This dude absolutely has 40 home run power. This dude absolutely can steal 40 bags in a season. We know he can do that type of stuff. And by the way, even when he's been bad this year, he's still found a way to hit like 250 to 270 the entire season. So it feels like we even know what what his hit tool is, and that is above average. He is a 55 bat at the very least. So, and by the way, his defense very good again this year. So this guy's a great player who just hasn't had that like elite season yet. But again, he's 23 years old, right? Like this is a guy who's like a year and a half removed from college. Had he been, drafted as a American-born player. So, like this guy's already worth more than 15 wins in his 3 major league seasons, and people want to make assumptions about what his ceiling actually is, and it's insane because again, this guy is uber talented. And look, is Julio's struggles in the first half, was that a major reason why this team is in the position they're in? Yes, absolutely it is. There's nobody who's saying it's not. But again, this is why you don't give up on a guy. This is why you don't write a guy off, because the talent is immense. It is just in terms of raw skills, there may not be a more talented player in baseball. When you talk about bat speed, we talk about power, you talk about the ability to use the whole field and hit for average and steal bases and play great defense in a premium defensive position. Like he can do all of that stuff. And the fact that he hasn't done it yet for 6 months when he's 23 years old shouldn't discount how good this guy has been to start his career and how much is still left in the tank. So as frustrating as this year has been, it remains, I remain very optimistic about Julio being the superstar player, because he kind of already is, whether you want to admit it or not. And his down season, in which he spent 3 weeks on the IL and where he was basically a 20% below league average hitter for 3 months, that down season is still going to produce a 4-win season in a 2020 campaign. Like that's the floor for Julio Rodriguez. And he's 23 years old. So,
and it's really nice to see him finishing the year on a strong note, because last year, September didn't go particularly well for him. He slashed 227, 277, 496. He slugged a lot. That's a 105 WRC plus. That's not how he wanted that September to go, especially when the Mariners were competing for a division title. But yeah, I mean, like if this is his floor, and it kind of feels like it has to be his floor, given how many bad things happened with Julio this year and how bad the start of the season was for him, and really just the first half in general, and then the injury happens. He ends up slashing, I mean, as of now, obviously these numbers are going to change over the final 3 games, but 275, or here, actually I have the updated numbers after today's game. 274, 326, 413. It's a 117 WRC plus. He was worth 3.8 F4 heading into today's game. I'm sure that's going to go up probably by 0.1 tomorrow. I mean, those are not superstar numbers, but that's really good. That's a really damn good player. And if that's Julio's floor, I mean, yeah.
His floor is essentially Randy Arozarena with plus center field defense. That's his floor.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the dude's a freak, and he's going to have a season sooner than later where he, puts up the 160 WRC plus and he hits 35 bombs and he steals 30 bags and he wins a gold. Like he's going to do that at some point in his career. And again, he's 23. He's got plenty of time to do it. So yes, it is possible to both acknowledge that Julio's struggles in the first half were such a major problem for this team that it helped dig this significant hole, although Mariners found a way to win while he was still doing that. But yes, Julio's problems, they do still exist. And yes, you do need him to be more consistent throughout the year. But again, you look at what he's done in the second half, you look at where he's going to end up, despite all the issues he had in the first half and despite missing 3 weeks in the middle of him swinging the bat very, very well. He still ends up 2020. He's still going to end up a 4-win player. He's still, put up a really good average. He's still putting up a good on base skill. Like, this guy is a special player, and obviously we haven't seen what he's capable of yet for an entire season, and that is a little terrifying if you're not a Mariners fan, and very exciting if you are a Mariners fan. So Julio is still a huge part of what's going to happen over the next decade or so, and fans should still be holding him to a higher standard, but also appreciating just how good of a player he already is.
Absolutely. And like I said, it's good to see him ending the season on a really high note. So speaking of, George Kirby ended the season on a pretty high note as well. We're going to talk about his day down in Houston in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners postgame show is brought to you by Booking.com and FanDuel. Explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. With hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay even in your baseball rival city during the postseason. Even an Orioles fan or a Guardians fan can have a good time in New York no matter what happens on the diamond this October. You can drown your playoff woes with a New York slice or celebrate advancing to the next round with a delicious chopped cheese, all while taking in the autumn vibes in Manhattan and capping it all off with a great stay in the city. Booking.com delivers exactly the right U.S. stay for you, and the right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your baseball rivals. Booking.com, booking.yeah. NFL fans can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets. Yeah, you heard that right. $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. You can catch all the action between the Mariners and the A's on Friday night on the Mariners hometown broadcast with SiriusXM via the SXM app. All you have to do to find that is search the word Mariners. So George Kirby made his final start of the season today. He goes 6 innings strong, 1 earned run on 4 hits, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk, just 4 hard hit balls against him. Obviously did not go up against an Astros lineup at full strength. No Yordan Alvarez. Jose Altuve gets the day off. Kyle Tucker gets the day off. Alex Bregman only played, 3 innings? By the way, Shea Whitcomb, who started the game at second base, went over to third after Bregman was taken out of this game. He had a rough day out there. 4 errors today against the Mariners, which helped them score a couple of runs in this one. Kirby, it's obviously been a struggle for him over the last, 6 or 7 weeks, give or take. He had a couple of solid starts back-to-back against the Rangers, but today looked more like the George Kirby that we know and love, which is nice to see in his final start of the year. So what do you think about his day?
Yeah, pretty good. It's been a really disappointing second half for George. We all know this. He's had a real issue with the home run ball in the second half. Again, this is something we know. And overall, you look at his season, he's going to finish with 4 wins, 4 WAR, which is a very solid season. But considering where he started and how the last 2 months have gone, it's a little disappointing that he didn't push 5 wins. And he was a big reason why this team really, faltered in August in particular. He really struggled for most of those games. And he's been a little bit better the last few times out. A couple times against Texas, he's been pretty good. But you kind of think, like, that's Texas. No Corey Seager. Like, it's not it's a struggling lineup. And look at the lineup he faced today. No Tucker, no Altuve, no Yordan. Bregman only got 1 at-bat. But if that's the circumstances you're being thrown into, right, you should pitch really, really well if you're a good pitcher. And Kirby did that today. Like, you can only face the guys that they throw out there against you. Like, it's not his fault. And you look at what he did: 6 innings, 4 hits, just the 1 run, hit by pitch. So a couple free base runners, but just 4 hard hit balls on the entire ball game. The only reason he didn't go deeper in this game is he had 2 at-bats, one against, I believe, Carantini, and the other one against Singleton. And I think between those 2 at-bats, he got him to 2 strikes. And then both of those at-bats ended up being 10-pitch at-bats. He just couldn't quite put those 2 guys away in an efficient manner. That's probably what prevented him from going an additional inning, the 7th inning. which would have really driven the start home. But overall, 6 innings, 1 run, just the 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. It's a pretty good number for him. Just 4 hard hit balls. It was a solid night for George in what is almost certainly his last start of the season. Finishes with a new career high in innings pitched now by 1. So Kirby is, he is a very good pitcher. A very rough stretch at a really bad time for Seattle, but overall, I mean, the Kirby's future is still bright, and I still don't think we've seen his ceiling quite yet. He's always going to be a guy who adjusts and adds a wrinkle every winter and that type of stuff. So we'll see what he does, this winter, and see how he carries that into spring training and all that stuff. But as of today, or as for today's start, he did a very nice job with the season. I mean, technically still on the line. They have not been eliminated yet, and one loss.
We'll get to that in a moment.
Them. So blah blah blah. Against a bad lineup, right? And he just went right after him, and it was a pretty solid night. 12 lifts, nothing great, but 96 pitches, 64 strikes, just the 1 walk. He'll be I think this is the 3rd season in the modern era. Or so I saw a tweet about this. I should have pulled it up, but basically 3 guys have surrendered 25 walks or fewer when throwing more than 190 innings in Major League history, and George Kirby's done it twice. He's 2 of the 3. George is
Baseball Reference tweeted, he's the only AL pitcher in their database to have multiple seasons with 150 plus strikeouts and fewer than 25 walks. Zach Eflin also did it in 2023. Max Scherzer did it in 2022. Those are the 2 most recent non-George Kirby instances of that happening.
Dude's really good.
Also, Iwakuma is on that list.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah.
Love Kuma. So Kirby, solid year. Unfortunately, had a shot to be a really special year, but he stumbled in the second half. Okay. Bad timing too, but it is what it is. And if those issues happened in April and he was, what he was in the first half and the second half, we'd be talking about, hey, this guy's a Cy Young dark horse next year because he's on such an upward trajectory. So overall, was it really annoying to watch Kirby pitch in the second half? Yeah, it was. And it certainly felt like he let you down a couple times against Detroit, where he just didn't give you a shot to win those games. And those matter right now. Right. But overall, George Kirby is still a very good pitcher. He is at worst a good number 3 starter, probably still a number 2. And again, you're just going to start paying him this winter. Like, he's going to make real money for the first time this winter. You get him for 4 more years. Like, the dude's really, really good. And you should be very happy that he pitches for you. And any thought of trading him is foolish. Let's just put that out there.
We've talked about him developing more of a consistent out pitch, but outside of that, I think the thing that he needs to work on is being able to recover from defensive miscues and, weak hits, right? That find, like bad BABIP luck, essentially. It's very clear that he doesn't respond well to when those things happen. And sometimes, especially in that start in Detroit, he allows things to unravel when that happens. He's not able to work around those situations. Because look, your teammates might have let you down in that situation. Or you may have made a great pitch and it's still found grass, right? But how do you respond to that? And he hasn't particularly responded well in those situations. So I would like to see him grow in that respect as well, moving forward, besides the mechanical stuff that we've talked about.
Right. And I think, part of that too is remember, what was it, last year or was it this year? They're kind of running together, very similar years, right? Where he was mad that they asked him to go another inning against Tampa.
That was Tampa last September.
Yeah. And it's like, once something like throws him off of his little routine or whatever, or once he feels like he is being asked to do more than he should be, like he's asked to carry more weight than he should be, he lets that get to him. And that's something that we saw last year, because remember, they asked him to go an extra inning and he bombed and he lost the Mariners that game. And then, obviously this year we've seen some bloopers, we've seen some errors, and then just things go wrong and he just pipes fastballs at that point. Like, there's still some maturity, some maturing that George has to do mentally. to get around that, because you can't be a great pitcher if every time somebody makes an error or every time somebody, bleeds a single up the middle that you just unravel. That's not an ace mentality. That's not what pitchers do. That's not what great pitchers do. So
it's the whole like Bruce Lee be water type of thing, right?
Sure.
Just, you got to be more adaptable, right? That's going to be the key for Kirby moving forward.
Right.
So yeah, but overall, look at his numbers here to wrap the year. 3.53 ERA, 3.26 FIP, 3.58 xFIP, 8.43 Ks per nine, 108 walks per nine, and 191 innings pitched. Pretty good. 33 starts, pretty damn good.
And this might be his floor.
Yeah.
For the next few years. Like this season might be his floor. Because he was objectively bad for about 6 weeks. So, yeah. The Mariners, as frustrating as this season has been, got a lot of good things on this roster that they can build around. Like they are not that far off, and it's a bummer. And we're not going to turn this into anything, but it's a bummer that the ownership group doesn't see that and actually want to invest in this core, because the core is pretty darn talented. It is a very talented core, and Kirby is certainly a part of that.
Yeah, it's a great core. It's a great core.
Yep.
It would be pretty cool if you
be nice if you
support
go
it.
Another person to it and then support it. But those things cost money usually.
Yeah, we'll have plenty of time to have those discussions here over the coming weeks and months. By the way, we're going to be off tomorrow. We'll be back on Friday to talk to you guys one last time before the end of the season. But yeah,
very well could be talking about the recently eliminated Mariners, because even though they won today, there's a path where they're eliminated on their off day. So
yeah, before they play. So before they play again. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, a reminder: this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Game Time. So I used to live in New Mexico, and down in New Mexico, there are 0 pro sports teams, and a lot of bands and artists that I listen to skip going there more often than not. So when I moved to Toronto, where there's a baseball team, a basketball team, a hockey team, even a soccer team, and there's great music being played every night in the city, I was right in my element. When I want to catch a ball game, or my wife and I want to see a band, I always get my tickets through Game Time. And that was the case well before Game Time sponsored our network and before I even joined the network, because it is truly the best ticketing service out there, hands down. I truly believe that. And now it's getting even better thanks to Game Time Picks. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I can just go on the app, it'll show me the best deal right away, it'll show me the exact view I'll have, and most importantly, it'll tell me exactly what I'm going to pay with Game Time's all-in pricing, so there are no annoying little fees that pop up at the last second. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, that's LOCKEDONMLB, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners postgame show. Once again, you can catch all the action between the Mariners and the A's on Friday night and over the course of the weekend on the Mariners hometown broadcast with SiriusXM via the SXM app. All you have to do to find that is search the word Mariners. So, just going to lay it out to you very simply here. The most wins the Mariners can get the rest of the way, 85. The Royals and the Tigers, they're at 83. Right. So you do the math. The Mariners have to be 1 win better than those two teams. Royals play the Nationals tonight and tomorrow. Tigers play the Rays tonight and tomorrow. So we'll see on that front. But like Colby said before we ended the last segment, you could be eliminated on your off day. So there is a path here. It is very, very narrow. It requires a miracle on a multitude of fronts, but there is a path. And so we'll be keeping an eye on it. And like we talked about yesterday, I mean, it would be very Mariners for them to still be alive heading into the final series of the year.
I can think of nothing more Mariner-y than refusing to die until game 160, 161, or 162.
Hey, refuse to lose, baby. Y'all remember 1995?
Except for they always lose. I've yet to have one of these. Oh, they need a little miracle to go their way in game 161 and 162. I've yet to have it go that way for me. And I've been to all 4 of the previous times.
Yeah.
Ironic, they always happen at home too. When's the last time the Mariners didn't end their season at home? It feels like they always end their season at home, but whatever.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Now that you say that, I can't remember the last time they ended the season.
It kind of feels like they're always on the road for the 4th of July, and they're always at home for the final 3 games of the year.
Let me check their schedule next year. I wonder if they're in the season at home again. But yeah, I mean,
checking the important things here,
right? But yeah, so maybe the likely outcome here is that you're not going to have to sit through another painful game 161, game 162 in person. But it would feel very Mariner-y if that happened. Yeah, by the way, they end the season against the Dodgers at home next year.
Boy, I hope you're up on more than 3 games.
That's a weird series, by the way. That's a really weird series to end the year on.
I said, I hope you've clinched everything you need to clinch by that point next year, because
their final 4 series of the year next year at Kansas City, great, awesome, love playing at Kauffman, especially in high leverage situations. That sounds awesome. And then at Houston, great, so fun, looking forward to it.
They have a chance to turn the tides and take that series against Houston and win the division, maybe.
You do get 3 against the Rockies at home after that.
Yeah.
And then the Dodgers, and then Ohtani.
Like how we're pretending we have any idea how good those teams are going to be, or how important those games are going to be.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Rockies are going to be pretty bad.
Sure, and the Dodgers could be pretty good, but for all we know, by the time the Mariners go down there, they've clinched everything, and Ohtani and Betts are taking 3 days off, and it doesn't matter how good or bad the Royals are, because it's a series at Kauffman Stadium. Yeah, that hellhole.
Yeah. God, I hate that place.
But pretty simple. The Mariners' tragic number is 2. So any combination of 2 Mariners losses, or any combination of Mariner losses or Royals, and I guess technically Twins still wins, like
Tigers. Twins as well.
Yeah, Tigers. So yeah, basically, if you lose one and Kansas City wins one after today, your season's over, right? Unless Detroit also goes 0-3, 0-4, whatever they have left. So, yeah, basically, again, you can't afford to lose. If you lose one game, it only takes those 2 teams winning one game themselves, to guarantee that you're eliminated.
So yes, you can get in at 84 wins, but you need one of the Tigers or the Royals to lose out in that scenario. So
very simply put, once Detroit and Kansas City get to 85, it's over. So once you get to 78, I believe, it's over. Or 79, it's definitely over. So you're checking to see Detroit, Kansas City don't win 85 games. You're looking at yourself saying you can't lose any more than 78. And in all reality, you have to finish the year with 85 wins to have any shot. And even then, it's
you need a lot to happen.
Yeah. Losing yesterday's game, losing that game on Sunday, really the game on Sunday is the dagger, because that was your margin of error game. And then you had to run the table after that. And you couldn't, unfortunately, and asking, to sweep Houston in Houston, that was always a tall task. So that game on Sunday, if you had won that, you'd be ahead of Minnesota right now. You'd actually be a half game back at Kansas City.
Yeah.
We would very much be hyping up this last series and saying this is going to mean something. But, again, them's the breaks. And when you don't play well and you lose games that you should win, it's tough to feel like you're cursed or like, oh, man, just things didn't go our way. Like, no, this is all self-induced. Yeah. So it's a bummer. But, Detroit, Kansas City, they get to 85, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, tragic number is 2.
Yeah.
And you can do the math. If Kansas City and Detroit just win the next 2 days, they haven't played yet today. They are playing tomorrow on your off day. If they both do that, it doesn't matter what you do. You're eliminated tomorrow. So it's a bummer, but.
So I want to end on this. I hope the image of the Astros celebrating last night sticks in the brains of every single person that contributed to how this year went.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically John Stanton, Chris Larson, any of those other people that own the ball club. right? If you have any self-respect for yourself as a baseball owner, that should haunt you, right? Because
They've seen it now twice in a row.
Because the players obviously contributed to the issues. Coaches obviously contributed to the issues. Front office obviously contributed to the issues. But all roads lead back to you, the ownership group.
Yeah. Like any way you want to slice it, right? Whether they're eliminated tomorrow or they actually get to this weekend, the last series with a shot to make the playoffs, any way you want to slice it, right? The Mariners have now gone 5 seasons in the last 10 where they've made it to the final week of the season with a shot to make the playoffs and have failed to do so. And we can point to ownership, or we can point to the players. Yes, they deserve blame, most of it. We can point to the field staff. Yes, they deserve some blame. We can point to the front office. Yes, they deserve some blame. But at the end of the day, when you are consistently right on the edge of making the playoffs at a pretty good rate, if the Mariners have made the playoffs 6 times in the last 10 years, nobody would be complaining. No. But it's about to be 5 times you've gotten to the last week of the year with a chance to make the playoffs and haven't done it yet. When you're spending significantly less money than you have any right to spend based on your market size, based on your revenue, based on all of that, when you're spending less than you should be and you fall short this many times at this close of a margin, that is a 100% ownership problem. It stops with them. Because if you're consistently missing by a game or two, yet you're the 10th biggest media market and you have the 18th highest payroll in this game, that's on you. It's not hard to go buy another win or two. It's really not. So, you can blame Jerry all you want. You can blame the players. And again, it's not like they're blameless. They're not. They share in the blame too.
All of them have blame.
Yes. But when it's happened this consistently, this will be the 4th time in the Stanton era. And by the way, Stanton was a big part of that previous ownership group too. So it's not like we should absolve him completely from 2014 either. But when it's happened this many times, including, by the way, 3 of the last 4 years, it's happened. And you're not spending the money you should be spending. We're even giving you a break here. We're not asking to spend $300 million. Can you spend 180? Can you spend 190, which would be about 12th in baseball? With the 12th biggest media market?
Yeah, we talked about it on Monday. I think it's $176 million based on 2024 payrolls would get you to 12th.
Right. And you're $30 million below that, and you're going to miss the playoffs again by 1, 2, or 3 games.
Yeah.
That is on ownership. That is an ownership problem. And every minute we talk about like, oh, well, actually they should fire Jerry, because you're missing the point. It is time to point the finger squarely at ownership. And this is the 2nd year in a row that the Mariners have witnessed an American League West rival celebrate clinching whatever against them. They've had to witness it 2 years in a row now. If not this winter, it's never going to happen. So I hope John Stanton steps up, but
and we can have the conversation about if Jerry and Justin are the right guys to work within the confines set by ownership, but that still misses the point. There shouldn't even be confines set by ownership, because they can afford to not set any sort of confines, to not set any sort of restrictions upon their front office.
If this team was spending $175 million or whatever the number is, right? If they were spending that much money and they were still consistently falling 1 or 2 games short, then we can have a very real conversation about, well, they're spending the appropriate amount of money. This is a front office Jerry and Justin problem, and they should be the ones to take the brunt of the blame. You're $30 million short of where you should be at minimum.
Yeah.
$30 million, and you're going to miss the playoffs again by a game or 2.
So again,
stop deflecting. This is a John Stanton, Chris Larson, that group. This is a them problem.
Yeah.
More than anything else, it is them.
So again, everyone played a role in this. Players, coaches, front office, some more than others, of course. But as far as I'm concerned, this is on you, John Stanton. This is on you, Chris Larson. This is on you, the rest of that ownership group. I don't know all of your names. All roads point back to you here, right? Mm-hmm. The lack of spending has capped what you can do, right? What the front office can do in terms of roster building, what this roster is able to do is severely capped this organization's ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Yep. this team is not as successful as it can be because of you. It's your fault. By the way, they're probably going to have their end of the season presser at the end of the year, sometime next week, probably Tuesday.
And it should
Wednesday.
be John Stanton, not
Yes.
Jerry DiPoto.
Right. Will John Stanton do it? No, absolutely not. He'll probably be lurking in the back. I know, like, don't even have it. They should. They absolutely should. They should answer questions from the media. They should put their names on the record or whatever, and they should have what they say at this press conference weighed against them in the coming year. They should do that. Like, they shouldn't just shirk that responsibility because it might make them look bad. They should do that. But they should do it with John Stanton sitting right between the two of them, and the word should be coming from John Stanton's mouth saying, we're going to put out the resources. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And it's not going to happen, which makes pretty much everything that will be said in that press conference completely unreliable and unimportant.
Yep.
It's not going to matter because the guy who ultimately makes that decision won't put himself in front of a camera and say, this is where we were at. This is why certain decisions were made. This is where we're going. And he won't be held accountable for saying those things. He'll make Jerry be held accountable for saying those things, even though Jerry literally has nothing to do with the budget that he is given. Nothing. And yet Jerry and Justin will be the one to take the arrows. Jerry and Justin will be the ones to make false promises while John Stanton sits in the back behind the camera smiling, knowing that nobody's going to call him out on it except for us, the lowly podcasters. Nobody's going to care. And when the time comes, he can just fire Jerry and Justin and just hire somebody else because he's untouchable, because he's a greedy, bad owner who doesn't want to win baseball games, but loves to tell you he wants to win. You can't get rid of the dude when times are good. We're doing a Hall of Fame, welcome to the Team Hall of Fame thing. I'm going to talk for 20 minutes. Everybody look at me. We make the playoffs. I'm on the field, man. I'm celebrating with the boys. I'm in the clubhouse. When things go bad, I'm in the back, literally behind the cameras off screen, watching Jerry give this ridiculous press conference that I know ultimately is a bucket of lies because I know what the actual number is, and I'm going to send him out there anyways under false pretenses and pull the rug out from under him again, knowing all the while that he'll get blamed for it. And I'll just do it again next year and the year after that and the year after that because I can. So again, I've said it before. I'll say it again, and I'll say it every show. We talk about the dude, John Stanton. You're a coward. Get in front of the cameras, put your name on something, and show us that you actually give a damn. Because right now, nobody has any reason to believe you. None.
And I don't want to be little brother to the Astros anymore, frankly. Like, I knew yesterday was coming. Didn't change the fact that I was disgusted by it.
Yep.
As a fan of this team and someone that had to sit through that ALDS and see Robbie Ray give up that home run to Yordan Alvarez and see Jeremy Pena walk off the Mariners, or not walk off the Mariners, but hit that game-winning home run in the 18th inning. I had hope, at least, coming out of that series. Live. Yeah, some of us unfortunately saw it live.
All 18
in person. Of it. Yeah. But as someone that still exited that series with hope that they're right on the doorstep and now has had to experience 2 consecutive seasons of letdown, I'm tired of it. No more excuses. I want to be better than the Astros. Mm-hmm. Make that happen.
Yep. Your bar is right in the division where you want to be. They happen to play right in your division. How great is that? You get an up close look at them 13 times a year. That's the goal. To win the division every year, to go to the ALCS every year, to win a couple World Series. That's the goal. And there is nothing stopping you from doing that except John Stanton. Coward.
Yeah. By the way, before we get out of here, Julio spoke to the media about his homer off of Neris. Said, quote, "Life is too short to be holding things on." Obviously, that's something that he understood that it was not correct to do. And we talked about it, and he apologized in person, and it's all good. We're grown men. But he still got his get back. So that was fun.
If you don't think he got a little extra kick out of it being against Neris, you're wrong, though.
Yeah.
Let's be very clear about that.
Absolutely.
That is the correct response from Julio, but also a little bit tongue in cheek.
Oh, yeah.
Just a little bit like,
right.
Sucks to suck, bro.
All right, that is going to do it for our show. But before we get out of here, a reminder that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Thank you so much for joining us here on the last Locked On Mariners post-game show of the season. Again, barring a miracle. We might tell you guys a little bit about what we have going on for the off season, what we have planned for the off season, either on Friday's show or maybe next Monday or Tuesday. We'll let you guys know though what we have planned. Colby and I have been hammering that out the last couple of days. So yeah. But for Colby Patnode, I'm Ty Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Ty Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. You can also find all that stuff in the description of this episode. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.